among Santana, Dotson, who to Yates. So many players, personalities, leaders, and athletes who have come on and shared their own opinion about a lot of things as a platform to give them an opportunity to speak. It's all about, Spence, is it as simple as educating those who aren't?
Yeah, man, that's really what it's about. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. I mean, I was out earlier. I live down here in the Houston area. I'm in Sugar Land proper, but made my way over to Third Ward area and was able to kind of view the body and just be a part of what's happening right now. And it is as important and as simple and in common.
Team went 2-2 this weekend. Played like shit on Sunday.
Did you get fired?
We made 5 errors in the first inning on the second game Sunday. Shit.
Okay, I don't mind errors. I don't like the throwing errors that make the ball, the bases look like a wheel.
They were aggressive errors, but like, they shouldn't. We played good the first 3 games.
We need to have a team meeting already.
I really, first time they had played since. When did the season get canceled? Like the end of February.
Right.
It was the first time they had played since then. They just had to knock the rust off a little bit.
Okay. All right. We start this Tuesday's show, 301 on SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke. A nice lineup again today for you. Dylan Chapman is back. He was in near Oklahoma City and Norman for a baseball tournament. His job is already under fire after a 2-2 weekend. Apparently a very sloppy weekend, throwing errors, fundamental mistakes. Be baseball this year. A couple of college football notes. Today is the day that they're laying George Floyd to rest. The funeral procession or funeral service continues down in Houston at Fountain of Praise Church in Houston. I saw this note. What's interesting, I like a lot of what Malcolm Jenkins has said, guys. He was with Philadelphia, and I really have always enjoyed what he's saying. He's the one that, of course, took off when Drew Brees discussed things when it comes to George Floyd and racial injustice. But here's one thing that he said, that there's a quote on the NFL, Roger Goodell and Colin Kaepernick. I still don't think the NFL has gotten it right until they apologize specifically to Colin Kaepernick, which is something that we discussed. But then this part here, or assign him to a team.
Assign him to a team?
Or assign him to a team. I don't think that they will end up on the right side of history. He's a part of the Players Coalition. He said this today on an appearance on CBS this morning. No, you can't assign him to a team. You could say all the other, that you don't assign him to a team. What team? I don't even think he would want that. So that was something I thought, maybe, unless I misunderstood, they've listened to their players, they've donated money, they've created an inspired change platform, they've tried to do things at this point, but it's one player in particular they have ignored and not acknowledged, and that's Colin Kaepernick. That could be what a lot of people agree on, and some won't, but assign him to a team? No.
I think that's dumb. I think that's dumb, like the Rooney Rule changes that were being speculated about. I think that there are changes that are needed, obviously, but I think you just force issues. I don't know that that's always the best route. I mean, who knows if he fits onto a team? Who knows if he, sticks with, the team, or is even that great about, as far as being a teammate with the guys that he's assigned. I don't know. That seems silly to me, but I said it last week. I think a lot of people probably said it at this point that, yeah, if Goodell doesn't outright say something about Colin Kaepernick, then it feels a bit disingenuous. And he had a prime opportunity last week, and he chose not to do it there. And I think that was a mistake because it was right there for the taking. And it's almost like you see politicians or whoever, it's like the simplest thing is right there in front of your face. And how do you not just do the simple thing and instead make it much more complicated? So for all the goodwill that maybe Goodell generated last week, it still feels somewhat empty because he didn't address the elephant in the room. And why he didn't do that, I don't know. Because if you're going to come out and say, we were wrong, I was wrong, then say you were wrong about that and look, and then it's done with. And then you've addressed it. There's no Malcolm Jenkins comments. There's none of that. But instead, you don't. And so, it still doesn't feel all the way whole. So, Malcolm Jenkins, I think that's kind of a dumb idea. But I know he's got a big voice, and, he's a voice of the players to some extent. So, who knows?
All right, that I agree with you on that. But I don't think you say, okay, you're going to go play for the Arizona Cardinals. You're going to go play for, first of all, I don't know how many of the 32 teams, and there's always the debate that they could always use a quarterback, but I mean, here, I don't think you assign him to a team. That's completely against. I don't even think that's what he would want. I don't know. I'll never.
I think
talk
he
to
would
him.
want to play for a team that wants him.
He had that tryout, so to speak.
And
that kind of was a mess. It was a circus.
Here's the simplest solution to all this. Goodell says something about Kaepernick, admits he was wrong. Boom, that's done. And then you leave it to the 32 teams. And if none of them sign him, then look at the teams. And it's not on Goodell. It's on the teams themselves. If none of them sign him, then you look at them and you go, okay, well, what's the issue now? But by forcing it, I think you force him onto somebody. Then I think it's a little bit disingenuous. So let those teams, if they're interested, go after him. And if nobody does, then I think that speaks to where they think he is, or maybe people still have a fear of, the backlash. But at this point, I think the backlash has gone the opposite direction. So I don't know how it would hurt you at this point. I don't know. The whole Kaepernick situation has been a mess. And you know what? I said it last week, and I've said it multiple times. Yeah, he was right originally. A lot of people have admitted that they took it the wrong way, got caught up in the propaganda that was thrown out there and the attack on the soldiers, which was complete BS. And I got caught up in some of that too. I'm tired of apologizing for it, but I'll say it one more time, and that'll be the end of it. But at the same time, he did himself no favors with the pig socks. He did himself no favor with the Castro comments. So let's also not act like he did it right the entire time and didn't kind of let that message get a little bit out of whack by a couple of his own actions that shouldn't be something that erases the entire message, but it's not as though he was perfect along the way and what the message actually was either, because wearing the pig socks out on the practice field, that just came across as super disrespectful, and I don't think the message about police brutality really came out of that whatsoever. So now it has, and if he's ready to play, then and he's as good as everybody says he still is, then I'm sure there's one of 32 teams that will be willing to have him. So, Goodell, leave it up to the teams.
I think there's part of a lot of players or those who have supported him would like to see him actually come out and say things, but he's almost Paul, did you at one point say it's like a martyr? That he was quiet and like he just wouldn't say anything.
He's trying, and that's what I felt he was doing. I felt he was trying to be a martyr, which is fine if you legitimately are, but if you're playing into it, I thought he was doing that for a while. And I don't know. I would like to hear more from Colin Kaepernick, especially now. And I get that he feels that he may feel that he can't win. And, he's given a lot of money to causes and all that. But I would like to hear from him specifically. Not a commercial that's selling shoes and shirts and stuff. Where
let's go back to
I want to hear from him.
What Malcolm Jenkins was saying is that Goodell just should say his name, address, as Craig said, the 800-pound gorilla in the room or in the discussion, but to assign him to a team, that was the part that I disagree with. Iowa has their controversy with the strength and conditioning coach.
How about Malcolm Jenkins goes to his head coach and says, hey, why don't we sign Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah, well, they have Drew Brees. They have the kid from BYU. Taysom Hill, is that right? What's it?
Yeah, Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill, and they also have now Jameis Winston. So they don't need a quarterback.
Yeah, they don't need him now.
All right, now, I saw this. Iowa has their strength and conditioning coach under fire. Kirk Ferentz has tried to answer to that. But the players released a statement, and the statement was basically, if you cannot support us right now with this movement and with our team taking a knee during the national anthem, do not support us during the football season. Do not watch our games on TV. Do not come up to us when you want photos. Do not ask for kids' autographs. Don't come here expecting us to do for you when you can't support the black athletes on this team and the decisions we make as a team. I would rather play in front of 1,000 fans who care about us as people outside of football and what are standing for than 70,000 who only care about us when we're in uniform and on the field. And this came on Merriweather, and then there was a couple of fans that came after him. And he basically responded by saying, no, you don't get it. We don't care what you think. They're trying to, explain to Iowa, we don't, you could say whatever, we don't care. So that's part of what's happening as well.
Yeah, and there's other allegations that have come out as well. A former player, Darrell Johnson-Koulianos, has alleged that Kirk Ferentz directly, even though the strength coach has been the main one that's been under fire, Chris Doyle, for racist comments that he apparently made in front of players, although he's denied that, but plenty of people have spoken up and said, no, it's true, so choose to believe who you want to there. Ferentz came out with an apology on Sunday, said if the players weren't feeling safe to speak freely, then that's something that he's regretful about, and their anger and their frustration's been noted and all of that. But now this former player, Darrell Johnson-Koulianos, has come out and basically alleged that Kirk Ferentz set up a drug raid on his house. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. He went into detail about the way that he was treated, I guess, towards the end of his career. He brought up on senior day how Kirk Ferentz went out of his way to not shake the hand of he and his father, and said you can go back and check the tape, said that Ferentz's hate for him was so deep and there were so many red flags. He mentioned the senior day incident when Ferentz avoided him intentionally along with his parents, said after they lost to Ohio State at senior dinner postgame, his father went up to Ferentz to thank him for the opportunities that Iowa football had provided. And apparently, according to this allegation, Ferentz said to his father, do me a favor, tell Darrell I have one more thing in my pocket for him. I want him to worry. And then subsequently, and he says his family can all back this up, but subsequently on December 7th, 2010, authorities raided his home, and he says he has no doubts based on the conversations with his family that is orchestrated by Kirk Ferentz. He was immediately kicked off and expelled. No due process, no counseling, no treatment, no second chances. So here's just another allegation in the Iowa football program.
And they're under fire. He's the longest tenured football coach in America.
Makes a ton of money,
yeah,
too.
He does. And he's done a nice job, a really good job with Iowa. Couple of college football notes. Our guest lineup today, which we're excited about at 3:30, Larry Centers. He played with the Cardinals. I believe the Bills and the Redskins. Patriots won a Super Bowl in 2004 with New England. He's from Tatum, Texas. His brother, Donnie, was a hell of a wide receiver at Longview, went to Arkansas. He played at Stephen F. Austin. His thoughts today at 3:30. Also today, Hall of Fame wide receiver Isaac Bruce, awaiting word on when they're going to have the induction ceremony. Also today, two high school coaches, Lorena's Ray Biles at 3:45, Brian Bell at 4:45 from China Spring, Mac Rhodes 4:20, David Hellman, John McClain in the 5 o'clock hour. From Brett McMurphy, the Sportsbook USA, Superbook USA, odds to win the national championship. Clemson and Ohio State are tied for the, I guess you say, the favorites to win it all. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, and then a chunk of A&M, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Penn State plus Texas. Pretty much the same teams that you could write in next year or 2 years ago or even 5 years from now.
Yeah, I think Florida's somewhat new to the conversation once again. They've kind of been away from that for maybe a couple years, maybe longer. So they're starting to rise back up. It's very clear the Gators are not just good defensively anymore. They've got a chance to be a good all-around team. For the longest, they were just really good on defense and pretty poor, quite frankly, on offense. But, no, they should be good. And I know Baylor's in there kind of towards the tail end as far as the odds go. They're at least being mentioned, which I think is a good thing. But, yeah, it's pretty much the usual suspects.
Yeah, then Auburn, LSU, and then Michigan and Wisconsin, USC, and then, as you mentioned, 100-1 Baylor, Iowa State, both in that same part of that. Now, also college football. Who would you say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to give you 9 guesses on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, 254-339-1122, the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com, or on Twitter at Paul Catalina, at Craig Smoke, at David Smoke. Give me one of 9 teams that you consider what is a Tier 1 college football job. This was Adam Rittenberg, who writes for ESPN. He's done this before, but he's not done it. It's probably been 3 or 4 years. I'll tell you this right now. Baylor is Tier 3, but Tier 3 is a nice chunk. Arizona State, Iowa, Louisville, Miami, Michigan State, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, TCU, Stanford, Tennessee, UCLA, Utah, Virginia Tech, on and on and on. Iowa, Wisconsin. And what they say about Baylor have financial backing, good locations for recruiting, Mac Rhodes. Baylor was once one of the worst Power 5 jobs, great facilities, financial support, administrative leadership, and 5, it's hard to think this way, but it's true, though. Now, 5 10-win seasons since 2011.
Yeah.
I didn't even have that in my mind.
I would say the only thing that keeps it on Tier 3 is the size of the school and the fact that it's probably just the size.
Well, there's some other private schools, but they're more tradition-rich. For example, like USC. It's a private school.
Well, and I don't know if Baylor will ever be a true Tier 1 job without,
they gotta do much,
without doing everything that some of those schools on the Tier 1 have done.
One of 9. Dylan, you can be a part of this. This should be like almost the first 9 or 10, 12 names we pop out. Tier 1, it comes down to recruiting. It comes down to location. It comes down to commitment, facilities, money. And all of these, not everyone here has been successful recently. Dylan, you give me the first name. Into the microphone. Yeah, say it. Say it.
Of a Tier 1.
Alabama.
All right, that's obvious. All right.
Clemson.
Right?
LSU.
Yep. Oklahoma. Back to you.
Texas.
Yep.
Notre Dame.
Nope.
Oh.
I'm trying to keep track of who all we mentioned already.
Alabama, Clemson,
USC.
LSU, Oklahoma. Yes. Ohio State. There's 2 missing.
Michigan.
No.
Georgia.
Yes. 1 more left.
Florida.
Yep. That's it.
Bang.
Now, that doesn't mean that's only 9, but because there's some schools that are right on the edge. There are some schools that maybe should be a part of it. There's a lot of them. Michigan, Notre Dame, or Penn State, whatever. But those are 9. Baylor's Tier 3. A&M is in Tier 2. Now, what they also do have, under Tier 1, the biggest underachievers, Texas and Southern Cal. Mm-hmm. That's obvious. Under Tier 2, biggest underachiever, A&M.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
And Tier 3, the biggest underachiever, UCLA. Absolutely.
Yeah, and, quite frankly, A&M, if not for the very large amount of money and the large fan base, there's not a lot to fall back on. I mean, yes, they have tradition, but their tradition is not championships. Their tradition is the 12th man. Their tradition is 100,000 plus in the stadium. Their tradition is, midnight yell. That's the tradition. The tradition that others speak about with, like, Oklahoma, for example, is multiple Heisman, national championships, conference titles, and that's an area where A&M really doesn't have a lot of, skins on the wall, quite frankly.
No, if they could ever match their off-the-field tradition,
right. Yeah,
or their in-stadium atmosphere and the fan base passion,
right,
on the field, it'd be hard to beat.
It's kind of funny to think about their history and think of the things that once they became a co-ed school and once they started to get all the money that they had and all this, the things that started that happened that were under their control and out of their control that intersected almost perfectly all the time. So the best run they ever had was right at the end of the Southwest Conference with R.C. Slocum when they were dominant. I mean, they were just rolling through people. He had surpassed Texas. He'd beaten them like 5, 6, 7 times in a row. And so they're on this roll. They're beating Texas. Texas can't find the right guy to coach. Then everybody moves into the Big 12. They're still good at the front end of that, but Mac Brown comes to Texas, Bob Stoops comes to Oklahoma, A&M doesn't change with those times enough, and they just become another team in the Big 12 and never got out of that.
And then their best team and their Heisman winner was when they had left the Big 12, and they still didn't even get into the conference championship game because, there were just too many tough teams in the SEC, which is kind of, it's a legitimate excuse and also a bit of a built-in excuse, quite frankly, because it's something you could say 5 years from now and you still haven't won it, but that would be unacceptable. So, they're kind of getting to or get off the pot kind of at this point as far as the titles and things go, because you can only slap money out there and facilities and all that for so long before you just kind of look like you're all money and no substance. And I feel like of all the teams that are always mentioned as far as the blue bloods and things like that, I mean, again, A&M's a blue blood based off the field tradition more so than on the field tradition, in my opinion, if you're comparing it to those other schools who have multiple titles, multiple winners, and they're like the one team that somehow it feels like gets mentioned with all those other teams that doesn't have all of the other skins on the wall.
I don't think they're a blue blood.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I know what you meant by that. I think that, what they had, the magic of Johnny Manziel, and they never could capitalize on that. And that was 8 years ago.
You know what's funny? They could pay the country club dues if there was a cost, but they've not been invited in. They've not done anything to be invited in other than,
they don't meet the qualifications.
Yeah, so thirsty. Like for that. There's always something that jumps in. Something happens.
Like if there was a committee where they said, "Oh, look at this! Look at these people from College Station, Texas. Look at all the money they have. All right, let's go to page 2. Oh, well, that's disappointing.
The facilities are nice.
Oh, well, I mean, that's you have a lot.
I don't want to use this. I will use this as an example. I get these nominations for the academic all-stars, and the student athletes might have these amazing test scores and great GPAs and all that. But there's also part of that is what else do you do? Mm-hmm. Like what other accomplishments do you have? And I'm not just talking about all state and football, but also, things that you do and mission trips and all the, and some of them you just look at it and go,
yeah, are you in the yearbook? Are you in the student government? Do you, what do you volunteer doing? Now,
there's also some organizations that seem to be, and I'm not going to mention specific ones, but it doesn't take a lot to get in them.
No. Right. But, I mean, are you, to me, when we get those, I like to look at how diverse are your activities. Mm-hmm. I play football in the fall, and I'm on the golf team, and I'm
student council.
I'm in the student council, and that's it. And then the kids that really impress me are the ones who they play 2 or 3 sports, and they have this ridiculous GPA, and they're in the honor society and the student government and everything
else. Mission trips to whatever. Yeah. All right. The golf tournament and the season begins this week. The Colonial in Fort Worth. Some of the tee times, they're going to be limited amount of. Are they even having fans? I can't. I know that they're going to have them at Memorial up in Ohio. Here are some of the featured tee times for Thursday. Think about this. They're playing golf in Fort Worth on Thursday. Thursday at 1:06, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, and Brooks Koepka. I don't think you can get much better than that. Well, at 12:55, just a little bit before that, Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, and Jordan Spieth.
I've seen a lot of Spieth on my timeline lately.
Yeah.
In the morning on Thursday, 7:45, and what they do is they flip tee times in the afternoon. The following day in the morning, you go afternoon goes morning. Bryson DeChambeau, who played at SMU, Dustin Johnson, and Justin Rose. At 7:56, the following tee time, Phil Mickelson, Kevin Na, and Gary Woodland. And Woodland won, the U.S. Open last year. Mm-hmm. I believe that was the U.S. Open that he overpowered. So those are just some of the tee times, almost back-to-back. Now, they also at times have tee times on the first tee and the 10th tee. I'm not sure about that. But those are the featured groups. Those are 4 power groups right there.
They announced a few days ago there will be fans in attendance.
Good.
For sure.
That's the Charles Schwab Challenge.
It will be somewhat limited. I haven't seen an official figure on the percentage of people that will be allowed in, but there will be some fans in attendance. And just saw this a moment ago as well that NASCAR has announced 5,000 fans will be allowed to attend the Geico 500 at Talladega on June 21st. So it's a limited number of people. These 5,000 will be selected from those who had previously purchased tickets and live within 150 miles of the venue. So there's some qualifications there. But there will be 5,000. There will also be 1,000 service members in attendance for the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead on June 14th. So it's definitely not the 100,000 that you're used to, or the tens of thousands that are normally at NASCAR events. But it looks like they're at least inching their way towards a little something.
That's good. NASCAR, they've already had a couple of races. Now PGA Tour's about to tee off here in our home state here in Fort Worth. When we come back, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's probably been in the discussion on occasion. One of the most dynamic out-of-the-backfield receiving running backs ever, Larry Centers. He'll join us today at 4, Hall of Famer Isaac Bruce, high school coaches Lorena and China Spring, and our regular analyst on Tuesday, Mac Rhodes, of course, Director of Athletics at Baylor, plus John McClain and David Hellman. This is SicEm365 Radio. You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace. Doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Drive forward forward at Allen Samuels. Get big summertime values on new Jeeps, the vehicles of summer. Now get 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days on select Jeep models. Plus, the all-new Jeep Gladiator now features employee pricing for all. Shop safely in person or shop and buy online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Now, more than ever, your friend in the car business. Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
He is as prolific a running back as a weapon out of the backfield as anybody who's ever played the game. He had some rushing yards, but he was known for what he could do in the passing game. Larry Centers had 827 catches, nearly 7,000 yards, one of the most prolific running backs out of the backfield in NFL history. He was born in Tyler. He played high school at Tatum. He went to Stephen F. Austin and played with the Cardinals, Redskins, Bills, Patriots, won a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, and Larry Centers joins us. Paul Catalina, David, and Craig Smoke on SicEm365 Radio. How are you doing, my friend?
Paul, David, and Craig, I'm doing great, man. How you guys holding up today?
We're doing well. Dylan Chapman with us, Paul Catalina, Larry Centers on the show with Craig Smoke and David Smoke. Larry, you and I had a conversation yesterday. You spoke with me. I was on my way to a high school football practice at Connolly High School, and we were discussing Colin Kaepernick. When that occurred, what was it, 4 years ago? When that occurred, what was your initial thought?
Well, my first thought was, okay, why is he doing it? You know, I did my research to find out what is his. As you know, every time you step out on a platform, you're always going to face some type of criticism. You can't please everybody after all. And so I focused on what was his gripe, and the gripe was that he wanted to bring attention to the social injustices going on in the streets of America, with black and brown people getting disproportionately gunned down, unarmed black and brown people, mind you, getting gunned down in the streets of America. And, you know, nobody really understood that at the time. Maybe they couldn't hear his message, but I'm really thrilled to see that everybody gets it now.
How do you think the NFL should proceed with embracing now Colin Kaepernick and even if he does not get the opportunity to play, his message?
Well, repeat the question.
How do you think the NFL should proceed embracing at least Colin Kaepernick's message that they appear that they're willing to do now, even if he does not get that opportunity to play, which many people would like to see him get?
I think the NFL should make a commitment to be morally responsible. To me, you know, I was very fortunate. Craig and I talked yesterday about. I was very fortunate to be raised by good parents who taught me the difference between right and wrong. And I think we're kind of somewhat at that moral crossroads. I think, you know, this is simply a good and evil situation, right or wrong. You know, not black or white. It's just justice and injustice. You know, all of those things. I mean, I think the NFL should, acknowledge the truth and join the fight for, you know, to bridge the gap between justice and injustice.
Larry, it felt like Roger Goodell really missed a big opportunity last week when he came out and said, hey, we were wrong, and he didn't say anything specifically about Colin Kaepernick. It feels like if he would have just addressed it there, not that you move on from it, but it feels like a big step, whereas not mentioning him but then coming out and saying, hey, we were wrong, still feels a little bit disingenuous. Do you feel that way, or am I missing something?
Well, I mean, that's tough. You know, for me to get inside of Roger Goodell's head, that'd be completely impossible.
Right.
You know, but I am taking notes of his actions and his commitment. His words matter, and he needs to understand that his words carry a lot of weight. And after all, you know, the people who are in most need of the this police reform, if you will, if I may call it that, are people that look like a high percentage of the people who ultimately pay his salary.
Malcolm Jenkins has been a powerful voice in this, and I've agreed with a lot of what he said, but I questioned this part. He said this on CBS this morning. Larry Center's our guest on SicEm365 Radio. Until they apologize specifically to Colin Kaepernick, I get that part. Or assign him to a team. Larry, would you want that if you were in Colin Kaepernick's? I can't imagine that would be a positive step. I don't know if you can just say, okay, you get Colin Kaepernick. He may not even want that.
Did you said assign him to a team?
Or assign him to a team. Yeah.
Assign or sign. Which one?
Two different things. ASSIGN. Assign.
That means tell him which team to go play for?
Yes. Or tell a team they have to sign him.
Well, that sounds like you cutting a backroom deal.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like a good deal for either party. I mean, open it back up and let him.
So wait, so you're saying that maybe Kaepernick has conversation with the team, the commissioner, whoever, hey, let's make this look as if we're helping. I can't, because that would absolutely be blown up.
I would just let him go and be a free agent like everybody else. I mean, let him be what he was and give him a fair shot like he wasn't getting before.
I'm not sure he wants to play.
Yeah.
Larry, thanks for being a part of it. This is a very strange and unique time, and obviously a powerful time in our country as well. You had great parents, you had a great upbringing, but you came from an area that at times there are a lot of young men in your same position as you that didn't make it. How did you survive? How did you not become a statistic?
And first of all, I got to thank God. And second of all, I have to thank my parents, my grandparents, they developed in me and instilled in me a moral compass to just be a good human being, be the best man, go up to be the best man you can be and make a contribution, the best contribution you can make to society. And, there will be opposition, there'll be this, that, and the other, but don't stray from your course. And so that's how I made it. And there's been obstacles. I have, situations, stories I could share with you, but I don't, that'll take, another show to do that. But how did I make it? I stayed with it. I worked hard. I took care of my fellow man. I, made sure my family was taken care of, and I just stuck to the basic principles. When things get their toughest, always revert back to your training.
Larry, I want to get to some football a little bit later. Before we let you go, but how have you handled just as a person seeing all these things that we see on a daily basis right now in America, and hoping that the more positivity comes out of it?
Hey, man, look, you're going to have to narrow that question down. That's way too broad. You give me way too much. Which thing that's going on? Which part? I mean, there's a lot going on.
Let's take coronavirus out of it, but let's just talk about the divide in, that's going on in America right now.
Well, I have a lot of different feelings. I was on earlier with a radio show that I think it was recording, so it may not have aired yet. And I mentioned that the same question, a similar question came up. And I mentioned, I said, I grew up in deep East Texas, where the sentiment was much of the same of what we see right now. A lot of it, people would express certain feelings towards you when you hadn't done anything physically to them. And so, going back to my grandparents and their teaching, if somebody just doesn't like you, it's not always your problem. It's more their problem than yours. It's, especially if you haven't done anything to make them hate you.
Larry Center's our guest, SicEm365 Radio. All right, now, we're going to have Isaac Bruce. He's a part of the class of 2020 Pro Football Hall of Fame. We had Cliff Harris. We've had others. We've had a lot of Hall of Famers on this show. Larry,
I'm not a Hall of Famer.
I know that. I know that, but the way you played the game, what the numbers you put up, most of the time people look at running backs and they look at rushing yards, but my God, there's some that did both. But in your opinion, if you stood in front of the Hall of Fame committee, those who vote, what would you say to them about your career?
I would say go into a room, compile my tape, and watch the tape. Nobody just watch the tape. That's what I would tell them.
And just put the mic down and walk away. Yeah.
And that, to me, would be the best way to do it. I watched a bunch of highlights this morning, Larry, when we were getting ready for the show, and a thought occurred to me, and you played an offense that was conducive to you, but offenses now that like to use the backs out of the backfield, the Patriots offense as it kind of evolved over the last few years, even when you were there, what kind of numbers could you put up now, even with these wide open offenses?
Well, I'm a little taken aback by that, that little slight that you slid in there about the offense being conducive to me.
Oh,
we were simply trying to win the football games out in Arizona. So, we did what we had to do and what was productive. But what kind of numbers would I put up now? Probably not as many. And let me explain that. Because the most successful offenses, and I've always said this, the most successful offenses are offenses where everybody contributes. You can't key in on one guy. You got to watch the tight end, watch the split end, watch who's eligible on this formation after the shift, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the best offenses are a mixture of great athletes, great players.
Larry,
drop the mic again.
Larry, to be able to finish your career with a Super Bowl championship, just how special was that season with New England in 2003? And, ending your career, so many just want to do that at some point, but to go out on that note, how special was that?
I'm humbled. I'm humble more than I am anything else. I often wondered when I was playing in Arizona if this was ever going to be something that made sense. I love the game of football, and I love playing the game of football. But sometimes my love of playing the game was, I looked at it as every opportunity that I get is what I've worked for my whole life to get out here. So why slough it off on any given opportunity? Having looked back at my career and I couldn't have drawn it up any better to win a Super Bowl in my last game of my career.
It was great to be able to have that. There's a lot of guys that have played the game. You hear about some of the guys that never won it. And it happened to be with the Patriots. You just talked about taking advantage of everybody. Everybody contributes. Isn't that the ultimate franchise of that happening, and that's why they've been successful for nearly 20 years?
Well, hey, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And words are a matter of interpretation.
I don't think anyone understood. I remember the first time I went to a Tatum High School football practice. It was in the fall of 1984. Tatum had been kind of okay. They just kind of been okay. And I walk on a practice field, and I see you, and I see some of the players you have on your team. And I don't remember when names like we had, obviously I knew Stephen Hodge was later on, and Travian Smith. There were some dudes. And then all of a sudden started winning. What was the difference? Why did Tatum start winning after being kind of just there for a long time?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things that I could put in that blank, but I'll quote one of my old coaches. He said, when you win, everything is the reason why. And when you lose, everything is the reason why. So we recruited the mindset the tradition. You know, I'll say this a lot. Winning is a tradition, so is losing.
Yep. You are now Chief Executive Officer at Larry's Centers Group. Tell everybody what you're doing.
Man, I'm look. That's the foundation of what I ultimately plan to do. Right now, you know, I'm just kind of taking it easy. I got a new granddaughter, and you know, she's kind of swept me off my feet, if you will. And I'm trying to get these stories out from certain players out there. You know, I have a wide net. Stay tuned. It's my best answer to that.
Stay tuned. You say stay tuned?
Well, I like that wide net.
Wait a minute.
He's casting a wide net.
That's my job. I'm supposed to say stay tuned coming up next. That's not you mentioned something to me yesterday, and I'm not going to bring this up because you said it to me, but I'm going to bring it up about today's America. You mentioned something about consistency, about someone who is who they've been for a long, long time. How important is that in life right now with what we see in America?
Hey, man, it's paramount. It's paramount. I mean, who you are is who you are. Now, we all can change, and hopefully we change for the better. But, you know, consistency is very key. We had a psychologist come in to one of the teams I played on. He gave us a story about, you know, when you start a game of football, you set your mental and emotional altitude. And you lock it in. You know what you're going to do. You practice. You're ready. You got the playbook down. You got the adjustments down. He said you set that mental altitude at the outset of the game. And there may be things that causes you to have to alter that course, but you don't make drastic changes. You navigate around, through, over, and beyond. But don't lose sight of your altitude. And to answer your question, that's what makes consistency in people very important.
Mm-hmm. No question about it. Paul, was it Larry? What's the picture of you leaping over a cowboy? Was that Larry Brown?
Yeah.
Was that you leaping over Larry Brown? That famous picture of you? Is that the one?
Well, I think that was him. I didn't get his name.
Could have just looked down and seen the back of his jersey.
Oh, my God.
That is next level. I love it.
I was able to one day, and this is up in Dallas, and I can't remember what club it was, but I went and played golf in Dallas with Larry. I met Larry there, and it was a friend of ours. He was a businessman from Henderson. Remember that, Larry? It's been a while. And
yeah, well, I don't remember that, but I remember, you know, I run into Larry from time to time here in town.
Say that again?
I said I run into LB. He said we ran into Larry Brown. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you and I, we met in Dallas. We played at a golf course, a country club. It was a private course in Dallas. It was a businessman in Henderson, and played a round of golf. I've known you for a long time. Appreciate everything you are. You're legitimate. You're consistent. Who you've been. Love the fact you have a chance to be a part of our show, and hope to see you again very soon. And SicEm Jacks.
Hey man, look, SicEm Jacks. Hey, I'm sorry if I left Stephen F out. But you know, hey man, I think the exact same thing about you. And you and I spoke about this. I don't want to divulge too much of what we talked about, but you have always been David Smoke. And you know, hey, face value, man. That's all we got.
That's all we got. That's right. We are who we are, as you mentioned. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it, Larry.
Yes, sir.
Be safe. Larry
Thank you guys for
All-State Tatum High School, All-American at Stephen F. Austin. Played at a team that lost to Georgia Southern on a field goal for the national title in '89, and then put up some massive numbers as a running back, receiver for the Cardinals, Bills, Redskins, and then won a Super Bowl with a member of the Patriots. It's 3:47 when we come back. A couple of notes we didn't get to. Oh, on this date, I think it was 1973, Secretariat. Like, I'm thirsty for sports news, and I think everyone, we mentioned the Nelson Tea Times, and Craig's, there's another UFC fight coming up or whatever. Secretariat on this date, 1973, in what still might be today the greatest athletic moment, dominant moment ever, Well, have a little piece of that. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr, been telling you about those guys for a very long time, and the sales continue on, and the great service continues on as well. Right now, they got the Buick Encores, which are the perfect crossover SUV. It's got a roomy interior. It's got safety features galore, the latest technology, and it's a quiet ride. Right now, you can get a Buick Encore for only $19,900. You save $6,000 on a 2020 Buick Encore. And Richard Carr Motors continues to be overloaded with used cars and trucks. Over 100 in stock. Richard Carr has a lot of work to do to move pre-owned vehicles now. Over 25 used trucks in stock, all at discounted prices. They've got free oil changes with a new purchase, an in-town priority warranty service that comes with your purchase, and they've also got the great prices as mentioned. Perhaps you're looking for a little luxury or style and power in a new SUV? Well, don't just settle on the first thing you see or what somebody else recommends. Drive the Cadillac XT4, XT5, or the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6. Experience the thrill of owning a Cadillac XT4 right now for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors, the people you can count on. Local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni that wants the chance to earn your business. So stop by their daily disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home. Your comfort and safety is their first priority. Find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit. Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Have you ever thought about how great it would feel a month or 6 months or a year from now if you weighed less and were in better shape and more fit than you are today? Think about that. Words can't explain the confidence I have because of what I've experienced and what I continue to experience every day at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. I promise if you join today, you'll thank me later. Offering a variety of different classes, over 40 of them every single week, including boot camp on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And oh, there's free daycare. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7. Contact personal trainers Christy London or Randall Corley and let them make you feel better about yourself. Also, world-class tennis facility with Pro Britt Coleman and Director of Adult Tennis and Special Events Joe Rosa. A spacious, clean, and sanitized workout room, no intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an all-new atmosphere that will make you love doing burpees. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, high school football, volleyball, and other tennis, whatever fall sports started to have some of their workouts. Yesterday, the UIL clearing that, and a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches on the field. I was able to drop by a couple of locations. The first school I ever went to when I arrived here back in 2010 for a high school practice was Lorena. And Ray Biles, and watched how they went about their business and why they've been successful. He joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. All right, Ray, you're used to being successful. The program is used to being a part of the playoffs. How much have you been fed by a year ago through the offseason into what you want to accomplish this year?
Well, it's been a crazy spring, Smokey. I mean, everybody's going through the same thing right now. We've had to adapt. I think that's a key word. Because we didn't see our kids from March 6th all the way till Monday, June 8th. So that is usually we don't have spring ball, so that's the time we have to install offense, defense, and all the rest of those things during those athletic periods that we have. So we are, from that standpoint, kind of scrambling like everybody else is, and then still trying to practice everything we have to do with the social distancing and the COVID regulations and everything else to keep everyone safe. So it has been an extremely difficult thing, but it is, by gosh, so much fun to be back out there. We're just having a great time. We're looking forward to it. I mean, and hopefully you guys probably saw the same thing. The UIL has just sent out a memo in the last 15 minutes. We're going to be able to increase the capacity on the 22nd in a couple of ways. So in another week, we'll have a little bit more flexibility with our kids and how we're handling things.
How were those first? Did you have some trash cans set up? I've heard a lot of people have been around the city been utilizing those trash cans for more than just garbage.
We do. We block those barrels real well. Unfortunately, we found out in the fall that those barrels have legs and move and things happen. So, but at least it gives your kids a frame of reference as far as when you're trying to put things in offensively and defensively up front, and you can move them around, give a 3-4, 4-3, whatever you need to do. Try to get your kids, thinking that way anyway. But yeah, we're pretty good with the barrels. But unfortunately, people run and hit when it gets the real deal.
Did you feel good about the turnout? I know some schools, not everybody's got everybody back right away, but did you feel good about the turnout? And like you said, you didn't have to use the trash cans too much, so I guess your guys stayed in pretty good shape, which I know is a concern of a lot of coaches with all this downtime away from their players.
Sure. Our number one objective was just get their legs back under them, because we've been sending workouts home, through the internet, and we send videos, and we send all that stuff home. And some of your kids are going to try to follow the rules, and others, it's just, hey, yeah, okay, I'll get around to it someday. So anyway, we've got some that haven't done anything for a couple of months, and we understand that. So we spent the first couple of days, and really most of this week, we're going to get a lot of them get their legs back under them, because if you look at it, this is the longest time they've ever really been out of any form of training, and a lot of them in their whole career in high school. I mean, because, they'll come back in right after we graduate, and we start in the summer with our summer program, and so there's maybe a week that we give them a week off here and a week off around the 4th of July or so, give them a little bit of time for family and enjoy, go to camp, do what you need to do. You're a kid, I got that. So we try to do things like that, but 3 months, that's a long, long time. So we're trying to get their legs back under them and, get them back where they need to be. The other thing is we don't have to play by Friday night. And I stress that with our coaches. I said, look, remediate, go over it again, remediate, teach what you need to teach. And we've kind of got this thing broken down into, pre-4th of July and post-4th of July. Where do we need to be by the 4th of July with our program, offense and defense and kicking game and everything else? And then we can evaluate where we are at that time and what do we need to do between then and August 3rd. Because, like I said, we're going to have some changes, and I'm grateful for the things that we do have right now. We're going to have some changes big time if we're going to play football in the fall. So, anyway, I'm sure that's going to happen if hopefully this COVID thing stays under wraps as much as possible, and we can kind of get back to normal again. I don't know if it's ever going to be normal. I think we're going to have to keep some things in our mind about how we work with these kids and how we handle things. But anyway, whatever we need to do, I know one thing, coaches are very adaptable group of folks. You tell us what we need to do to make the game work, and we will make it work.
Only twice since 2009 have you failed to go at least 2 rounds deep in the playoffs. And last year's team, of course, was 5-5. You've had unbelievable success. I mean, not unbelievable, but you've had really good success. I know you wanted more. Now you drop to 3A Division I. Does that mean you're now the bully instead of the smaller school in 4A Division II?
Well, to some people, they look at it that way, but, to me and to our staff, I've had my behind handed to me by Franklin. I've had it handed to me by Troy. I've had it handed to me by McGregor. So, no. It's football, and trust me, all these people are very, very good. Cameron's won a state championship recently. Rockdale, state champion. I mean, there are people that play ball, and I don't care, how many A's you have behind. I was at Katy High for 12 years, and I learned real fast coming from, at that time, 5A was the biggest. But when I came to 3A Lorena, you can get hammered just as quickly in 3A as you can in 5A because they got ball players and they got guys that can coach. And that's the way we're looking at it. I mean, yes, it's a little bit different when you're talking about depth. People probably don't have as much depth as some of the folks we've been playing. But on the other side, our non-district schedule is primarily going to be a 4A schedule.
Yeah.
We're going to keep people up there that we can play, because if it's a 2-year deal, I don't want our kids freaking out in 2 years if we do go back up to 4A and oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to play ball. So we're just going to try and keep that on our non-district schedule. We'll have the China Spring Cougars, and you know what that's going to be all about. That's football programs. I mean, there are going to be teams in there that we're going to have to play and play well.
Ray, thank you as always. Always appreciate your support. I'll never forget the card you sent to me about 3 months ago, right before the shutdown occurred. Appreciate your time. Good luck. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
That's Ray Biles, head football coach at Lorena, that district with Yo, Academy, Troy, Lorena, McGregor, Rockdale. Think about the lineage of Yo. Yo's done. Obviously, Troy with Robotchik back, and obviously as well with Cameron Yo. But Lorena, they'll be right in the middle. Rockdale won a state championship, just 2 or 3 years ago as well. When we come back, Pro Football Hall of Fame wide receiver Isaac Bruce. Mac Rhodes at 420, SicEm365 Radio.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hi, this is Ray Biles, head football coach at Lorena High School, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
SicEm 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
27-yard line. Warner to throw. Going deep downfield. Adjusting for it is Isaac Bruce. And Isaac Bruce threads his way for a touchdown. 73 yards.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Isaac Bruce, that highlight you just heard, the throw from Kurt Warner in 1999 season. The Rams exploded onto the NFL, won a Super Bowl in the win against the Titans. And Isaac Bruce joins us, Hall of Fame wide receiver Isaac Bruce of the Rams joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Isaac, thank you. Paul, Craig, and David. I'm David Smoke. Thank you for being a part of the show. We've talked to you before on Radio Row. You were a finalist 4 times to be a part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and finally, that time we hope will be soon, although the date we don't know. Your thoughts about what that moment was like for you?
First of all, guys, thanks for having me on the show. Very grateful. You know what? Just a culmination of hard work. Just being grateful for the journey that I was on, the friends and families, the coaches, the teammates, everyone else that was responsible for helping me be in that position. And, guys who voted for me and just the committee itself, they were there. It was very exciting, very emotional. I was grateful to God for everything that he's done for me up to that point, up to today. And just a moving moment for me, man, something that'll be etched in my memory forever.
We hear about the knock. There used to be the phone call, and now it's the knock. Yeah. You have an experience, can you take us back through that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, once you become a semifinalist and then you graduate to being a finalist, they let you know it's either going to be a knock if you've been inducted, or it's going to be a call if you didn't make it. So, everyone all of the 15 finalists, we're vying and hoping for that knock. But just the president, David Baker, is a huge man, has huge hands, former football player himself. When he comes around, he has this huge booming knock. I mean, being from the inner city, we call it the police knock. So just banging on the door as loud and hard as he can. And when you first hear it, it's kind of, it freezes you. It startles you on the inside. Your throat goes down to your stomach. And I don't care how much you prepare for it. That's going to be the result when you hear that booming knock.
We had Coach Vermeil on a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we asked him about that team, and, Trent Green gets hurt, and most of the time that's kind of like, well, okay, this team might be a little fun to watch, but they're going to have to slog through the backup quarterback. He said that he knew Kurt would be able to handle it. He had no idea Kurt had that in him, though. Was that the sentiment around the team that, holy cow, this guy Kurt Warner is really something?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that year, we probably had about 2 guys that were on the team that kind of like came out of nowhere. The one that many people know being Kurt Warner, the other guy being London Fletcher. I mean, these guys were undrafted. They kind of came up through the ranks, and when Trent goes down, first and foremost, your heart goes out for a friend, a teammate, a guy who had worked so hard himself to be in that position, coming back to his hometown, and then just have a devastating knee injury. But I don't think any of us, to a man, could have really predicted or seen, what Kurt Warner would have turned into.
You were surgical and very well known for your route running. How much work was just put into just the routes themselves and getting them as precise as you ended up getting them? Because, that's a special trait that not every receiver has. They'll run routes, but the way that you were so precise with it, how much work was just put into running routes?
Oh, man, it was a ton of work. I mean, from days back at Memphis. I know I'm speaking on a Waco radio station, so shout out to the Baylor Bears. It was from Memphis, just really, trying to perfect the craft of being a receiver. I mean, and it grew every year. You always try to find yourself or find that edge or something to help you get better. If it's, a deception with the head motion, or if it's being able to change directions, pretty much what we call stepping on a dime and leaving 2 nickels. Just being able to explode in and out your breaks. I mean, it takes hours of practice. And, from my days of training camp, I did 16 years of NFL training camp. And, from my era, the way we did it, we would practice against each other for 35 practices or close to 35 meet and greets with our own teammates before we saw another team. So we just had constant repetition of doing the same thing over and over again. But it always benefited in the end, because by the time you saw someone else or got to play on Sunday, you could separate yourself.
By the way, it is absolutely the timing of you mentioned that you knew you were on a Waco radio station in SicEm Bears. Tiffany Burris, the executive director of the Isaac Bruce Foundation, she told me that she's been running that for 14 years, and she makes you follow Baylor whether you like it or not.
Hey, I have to watch Baylor women basketball. I have to watch Baylor men's basketball. I have to watch Baylor football. So I found myself watching the Big 12 championship, and every time I get myself all hyped up just to see the crowning of the Baylor Bears, someone in Oklahoma just snatches it away from them. So it's kind of hard being a Baylor band fair. The most famous people I know from the Baylor is Mike Singletary, Tiffany Burris, Trey Ringo. So there you have it.
She's on Mount Rushmore.
Top 3. There you go.
We got
absolutely.
The good news is at least they're all good. So it's not like you're watching bad sports.
She's been fantastic. And I remember she used to bring us around Radio Row. You were there, and this was when you became a finalist and some of the heartbreak. What was more of the emotion, the knock, or sometimes the not getting the knock, or not being able to be in one year after another?
It's just really the full gamut of emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I probably experienced them all, from being excited about being a finalist my first time, being on the ballot the very first time, and just seeing the names. I mean, it's kind of human nature to start comparing yourself to other guys. I think I should go this guy and that guy and that guy. But, to me, it's all in God's timing. I think it was, if it was me and I had to choose, I think 2 years ago in Atlanta would have been perfect for me with success that we had in Atlanta, playing Super Bowl 34, always in the same division with the Atlanta Falcons, and the Rams being in the Super Bowl that year. But, just to be here in South Florida and have that opportunity to share it with my family and friends in my hometown. So, like I say, it was all about God's timing, and I'm grateful for it.
Now, Kurt Warner's in, you're in, and Marshall Faulk obviously in. Orlando Pace is in. Torrey Holt, is he the next one that needs to go in from that team?
Without question. When you talk about the consummate pro, a guy who was drafted very high and didn't disappoint. He actually, excelled in the expectations that we had for him. Perennial All-Pro, Pro Bowl player, stats, 13,000 yards. One of the biggest stats that I think stand out for Torrey is that he's the only receiver in the history of the NFL to have 5 consecutive 13-yard seasons. So it's hard to do, especially with the gauntlet that he played against. I mean, the defenses were not like they are today. So to be able to have that guy and play next to that guy, and for him to exceed all the expectations that we had from him, I think he is the next guy to go in.
What's it like to know how influential you guys were? I mean, it's impossible to watch Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs or pretty much anybody else these days and not say, hey, that was the greatest show on turf a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's humbling, and I'm glad it is that way because I think we didn't take it for granted when we were playing with each other. I think that we were a very selfless team, and we made sure that we, celebrated each other's success. And just to have so many teams now, even when we were playing, it was either we're going to draft to stop this offense or we're going to draft to be like this offense. So I think we touched a lot of teams, a lot of organizations twofold, and they're still trying to get what we had. It may be similar in Kansas City to kind of have and emulate what we did from an offensive standpoint. But when it comes to the personnel, I don't think it'll be matched again. So all the best to everyone who's trying.
Do you think anyone threw a prettier spiral? I know Marino and other, but did anyone throw a prettier spiral than Kurt Warner?
Hey, Kurt had a really good ball, very easy to catch. But you're talking to a South Florida kid who grew up watching Dan Marino.
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
If I got to pick a quarterback, he's always my first. Everyone else comes behind that. But Kurt could get the job done. He got the job done at a very high level, and we were grateful to have him.
All right, you mentioned earlier that there's a knock, an inner city knock, a police officer's knock, and Isaac, it's obviously today in America with George Floyd and that story, his funeral today, and how this country has tried to educate those who perhaps don't get it. What has it meant to you these last 10, 12 days around America?
Well, I know in Waco and all that surrounding areas, I mean, to me, it's it's that Bible Belt, and me being a Bible thumper myself, when you spend time with the Lord, spend time with His Word, particularly in the book of the prophets. You look at what Jeremiah had to say, what prophet Isaiah had to say, Obadiah, those prophets, Amos, Joel, what they had to say in the Word. It's not surprising, seeing what we're seeing right now. For years, I've heard, in our churches, from prominent people that we're living in the very last days, and I think that it's the last of the last days. So what's happening now in front of our eyes should not be surprising, especially if you've been getting in your Bible and being coachable and being taught by someone who can be very valuable in the Word and spread it the way it is. My heart definitely goes out to Mr. Floyd and his family, and all those who have been affected by COVID-19. But I think that we're living in a prophetic time, and things are going to happen, whether we pray for them or not. It's just the time and the season for things to happen. The Bible tells me that the last shall be first, and I think we're in a prophetic time where we're actually seeing the fulfillment of a lot of Scripture.
On June 18th of this month, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to meet again to try to find out perhaps when they have the induction ceremony, which was supposed to be early in August. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. Do you care what day it is? Does it matter as long as it comes up sometime?
I really don't. I mean, after Mr. Baker banged on my door, I pretty much considered myself a Pro Football Hall of Famer from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't need an induction ceremony. I would like to have it, but for my friends and family, everyone who has been a part of my journey, I think it's a culmination in a huge platforms for me to tell them thank you. So if it's in June, if we have to push it back close to the regular season, probably at the very beginning of the season, I'm okay with that. But just, I like to keep my friends and family happy because they all like to party and have a great time and just talk about football.
Mm-hmm. Good luck with the foundation. I'm looking online. Again, what you do, you give back. You want to mention that real quick, the Isaac Bruce Foundation that we mentioned with Tiffany Burris?
Oh, absolutely. Tiffany has been doing a tremendous job for the past 14 years. We've given away scholarships. We just did our annual scholarship to high school graduates that are headed to college. We do so many great things, so many great programs within that foundation. All the info can be found on isaacbruce.org. From Flight 300, our Flight 300 program, where we fly students to the campus who probably couldn't afford travel or room decor. We do all of those things. We haven't turned away one student, and we don't plan on it. We're always looking and receiving donations from anybody that want to help us do that. And we just doing and continue to do what we've stated in our mission, just to make a positive impact in the city of St. Louis and its surrounding areas.
It makes me feel great because in 1990 I began, nothing compared to what you're doing, but 20 student athletes every year but one since 1990 we've honored for what they do academically, but also what they do in the community. And we just, this year was different because of COVID. We had to do it just in a different way, but congratulations on that. That's what you represent as well. We appreciate you so much for being part of the show. Stay safe, and thanks for your time.
Yes, sir, man. Thanks for having me, and SicEm Bears.
Yep, there we go. Tiffany Burris has got Isaac Bruce in the SicEm Bears mode.
By the way, my nephew Luke is up here, and his dad was really excited. Garrett is really excited because Isaac Bruce, one of his dudes.
He was
favorite
unbelievable.
guys. Yes. So
1,024 catches, over 15,000 yards, 14.9 yards per catch, 91 touchdowns. He'll be inducted. He was announced while we were at the Super Bowl that weekend to be a part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I remember like 3 years ago interviewing him on Radio Row, and he was angry about not being in the Hall of Fame. Like, it bothered him immensely that he had not received that call yet. So to see him finally get that call, I know that had to mean the world to him because, I mean, they had, a lot of the not yet Hall of Famers show up to that and do the rounds of interviews, and a lot of already in Hall of Famers show up in their gold jackets and do those interviews. But I specifically remember Isaac's, handler of sorts, whoever his PR person was, they had like a full-blown like color program of all his stats and all the things that he had accomplished, and it was kind of like it was his case for the NFL. I remember for the Hall of Fame. I remember reading through it and going like, "Yep, I mean, it all makes sense." And he got the call eventually, so congrats to him. And I know that had to feel good.
Well, it was Tiffany Burris that gave us that thing, and when the thing had hit you in the face when you looked at it, you're like, "How was this not?"
Yeah,
right.
It's
tough. I mean,
Chris Carter, Michael Irvin, Art Monk, so many great names. Tim, they've all had to wait, and he had to wait a little bit longer. Then again, once you're if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. But that's not quite the way it works in the National Football League or in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Torrey Holt at some point will be included. It's 4:20 on SicEm365 Radio. Coming up next, the athletic director at Baylor, Mac Rhodes. This is SicEm365 Radio.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mac Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
We are now joined by Baylor Director of Athletics, Mac Rhodes, Paul Catalina, David, and Craig Smoke. Dylan Chapman here with us on SicEm365 Radio. So, next week, athletes start arriving. There are some on campus, I would think, that are getting treatment, whatever, but athletes now back on campus just around the corner. High school athletes were on campus yesterday and now this week. What does that represent? What does that mean?
Well, I think it's the first step. And, we talk about it in terms of a race. I think it's, the very start of the race in terms of, bringing student athletes, students, et cetera, return to campus, right? And then, the whole preparation for a fall season. And, you mentioned, we have some student athletes here already. On Thursday, we had a pilot group of 20 student athletes that we took through all of the medical screening, et cetera, just to make sure that, our processes were right and, we could handle everything, our medical team, our health and wellness team. And so that went well. And then, as you mentioned, we'll begin the process, the 4-day process of onboarding football and, take a breath and see how that goes, see what we learn from it. And then we'll move forward and think about the beginning of July to begin onboarding our fall sports, and then shortly thereafter both basketball programs.
So it's a 4-day. You just phase them in groups. How have you balance that out?
Yeah, so it's about 20 to 24 young men a day, and freshmen first year, right, will be the last group that we bring in, right. And there's some nuances to it, right? We've identified, some of our student athletes that could be at risk. Anybody with high blood pressure or diabetes, for example, or asthma. And but it's 20 to 24 student athletes, a day that will go through this medical plus screening. They'll do the COVID-19 test, the nasopharyngeal or the oral pharyngeal tests,
and also go through the antibody test. And again, just, we think that's the right number. And when you think about the lab processing, the tests, et cetera, and then, once they're tested, they'll need to stay, quarantined to themselves for, approximately 48 hours until we get the test results back. And then once we do, and if everything's okay, then they can begin their voluntary workouts. But we'll do that again for 4 days, I believe it is. And again, take a pause and make sure that goes well before we begin the onboarding process of any other student athletes.
Mac, with the pilot test, that pilot group of 20, was that just a mixture of student athletes?
No, it was football student athletes that were here, that are going through, some of the rehab stuff, the medical stuff, and again, that went well. We didn't have any positive tests. I think, and we've certainly talked about it as a department. It's not if we have any positive, it's when, and making sure that, that when we do right, we handle it the right way. We have a very robust response plan, our infectious disease response plan. We have this infection response team that's made up of medical professionals and our athletic trainer and public health, official, right? And that group will really determine, how the process goes, and are we comfortable moving on to the next group of student athletes. So and that's a team that will meet weekly throughout the summer just to continue to monitor, the testing process, right? Is it going accordingly as planned, right? Are there any updates to the testing process, right? As we advance into the future, right? And then again, just assessing, evaluating the onboarding process in general.
There's an article, Adam Rittenberg wrote this on ESPN, and it talked about college football coaching job tiers, and there's tiers 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Baylor, they have it, and again, there's other schools, bigger schools, a lot of schools that have been tradition-rich for a long time, but under the part with Baylor, and you're in a group with some fantastic programs, but in that sentence, or when they say that, Baylor was once one of the worst Power 5 jobs, both strong facilities, financial support, administrative leadership, and in 5 10-win seasons since 2011. I've been a part of the last decade, and it's even hard for me to fathom that it's been 5. It has been, and it is, no question, what you've done. And where Baylor is as a football program has come out of what was the dark ages for a long time. Do you consider yourself now a part of the elite when it comes to the football job at Baylor?
Oh man, that's a hard question to answer, right? Because you're trying to be humble. We certainly think that we're a program on the rise, and I think we've always talked about being nationally relevant with our football program, like so many of our other programs are, and so I think we certainly got to that level this year. Playing in a New Year's Six bowl game, being part of the conversation, the CFP conversation, right? Going into that championship game with the possibility of playing in the college football playoff. So I think we're a work in progress, and I would like to think that as we continue to move forward, we'll solidify that each and every year, and that like a Clemson, like in Alabama, like others, right, in Oklahoma, that will be part of that conversation each and every year. And before I got here, most of those 10-win seasons occurred, and so had success before we ever got here, and then we went through that process to regain that, and now it's our job to build upon it and make sure that we stay there.
Was there a difference? And I'm sure we talked about this when you hired Coach Aranda, but I know there had to be a difference in the volume of interest you received for that hiring as opposed to Coach Rule, which was a little bit of a harder gig. So doesn't that kind of an indicator too of when the job comes open, the phone rings a little bit more?
Yeah, I think that when we were going through the process and hired Matt, I would say that there was uncertainty, right? That this program could go either direction, and there was a belief certainly that you had McLean Stadium, right, and that's a great facility, but is there a vision for additional, right, the football ops building, some other things, the NCAA piece, all of that, right? Just everything that was surrounding the program at the time, there was uncertainty, and I think fast forward 3 years, there was less uncertainty. Unfortunately, still the NCAA piece, which I'm certain and sure that maybe some people weren't necessarily comfortable with that maybe. But a lot more certainty and I think a lot more confidence that the program was, so to speak, back and again on this upward trajectory.
Mac, we have a pop quiz we do on SicEm365 and question and answers, things like that. And one of the questions we had this week was just what trait or what takeaway from Dave Aranda has impressed you the most. And I think we had a variety of different answers from what times we have been able to talk to him so far. Obviously, haven't been in a football setting with him just yet, but what has stood out to you most about him? What trait, if at all?
I was talking to somebody about this earlier today, in fact, and one of the things that really came out throughout the interview process with Coach was his thoughtfulness, and I think he's got great thoughtfulness and intentionality about everything he does or thinks about or will implement, right? And so, that's probably the one thing that stands out. Very, very organized, has a plan, and I think Coach Aranda has great toughness. And when you talk and you say the word tough, right, we automatically gravitate to physical toughness. And no offense to Coach Aranda, but with you look at him, right, he's not the most muscular, right? He doesn't look like he's this physical specimen of toughness. But when you think about toughness, right, it's so much more than the physical piece. It's the spiritual piece. It's the mental piece, right? When you're under great duress, can you still perform at an elite level, spiritually, mentally, physically, and that really stands out. When circumstances say otherwise, can you do that? And that really stands out for me with Coach Aranda. I think he's got great toughness, and I think this is a hard job, and I think that's going to speak well for him and for our program into the future.
A week ago on the show with us, you were as emotional as you could possibly be, at least from we've had you on since you arrived in 2016. And at the time, of course, today was George Floyd's funeral service in Houston. And you discussed what you had, the conversations with student athletes. You discussed how you were disgusted in what you had seen or what you had, of course, what we were discussing as well with racial injustice. You mentioned, and I just thought based on your emotions that it was time to say thank you. But you mentioned that you are, or you have minority, and you've been through that. Not so much what black Americans or African Americans feel today, but you are minority. When you mentioned that, I did not know that, and it was something that I didn't follow up at the time. Your thoughts about that and what you have seen yourself, and not that you were comparing yourself to what is the movement today.
Yeah, it's not anything close. And I'll be honest with you. I woke up the next morning and I felt a little bit foolish just because of my emotion. But that's who I am, and that was a true reflection of what I was feeling for just for so many of us, and for our Baylor family, for those that are of color, for those that are black. Our black student athletes, our black staff members, right? And just, gosh, hurting for them, and this whole idea of Black Lives Matter, and the fact that some of them could sit there because of what has happened, not just with George Floyd, but with others previously, just to see them just hurt and question whether or not their lives mattered. Man, that's awful. And that hurts to see that. And I think for me, I've experienced it to an nth degree, not anything close. I talked about being Hispanic, and my grandmother on my dad's side was born and raised in Mexico, and the last name is Silva, and I've got relatives in Mexico. My great-grandmother did not speak English. She spoke Spanish. My grandmother, that was her native language, and so still relatives in Mexico. And then, my mom is Chilean, was born and raised in Santiago, Chile, and my grandparents are buried there. And, my mom's native language, Spanish, and still relatives in Chile. And so, I grew up, in that culture, both sides of my family, and I just remember, there were specific comments. People didn't realize that I was Hispanic, and some people would make racial remarks about Hispanics or Mexicans, right? And I just remember that. Man, that didn't sit well, and it hurt, and I also remember, and I think I mentioned this on the show, that there was at least once or twice where I didn't say a word. I just kept my mouth shut, and remember going home so disappointed in myself, and just saying, hey, the next time, I need to find a way. I need to find the courage to say something, and do it in a respectful way, but not be silent. And so those were some of the things that were going through my mind when we spoke a week ago. And I just continue to pray that we as a family, that we as a community love and support and show Black people that their lives do matter, and it's got to go much deeper than just showing love and telling them that we love them. But we've got to take action. We've got to have meaningful conversation, and sometimes that's really uncomfortable. And it's easy to spot overt racism, right? And it's easy for all of us to identify and say, no, that's wrong. But I remember the conversation at Missouri, the systemic racism, and sometimes we don't even know and realize that that's going on. But those are the conversations that we need to have with our Black brothers and sisters, and be aware of it and change those things. And we can, and I know we will.
Very well said, Mac, and like I think we would all echo, nothing to be ashamed of last week whatsoever. I did want to ask you about the stadium capacity news across pro sports here in the state of Texas. I mean, there was the thought here a couple months ago that we were going to have no fans in anything for the foreseeable future. I don't think there's been anything concrete, obviously, with college football, and there's so many variables going on right now, but how do you feel like what the governor has come out and said as far as pro sports are concerned, that that is a positive? Are you feeling better about the chances of fans to an extent being able to attend this year? I know you already felt that way, but are you feeling more positive momentum there?
Yeah, I think there is positive momentum, and I think that not always, but as pro sports go, right, college athletics certainly has an eye on that, right? And, we'll use that to help, formulate, our own plan, et cetera. And I know we talked about it last week, so not meaning to be repetitive, but, just having a plan for what, McLean Stadium could be like at 50% capacity, what it could be like at 75% capacity, right? What are some of the things we will require, for someone to come into the stadium, et cetera. I think the pro model will be a really good example for us to look at and follow, and will certainly influence, our decision-making process in some manner. I don't know the degree to which it will, but it'll certainly have some influence. And I do think we'll play college football games with fans in the stand. I just don't know that it will be at full capacity.
Mac, as always, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor. This is SicEm365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters. Jay Arrett and Pickup Outfitters have become a thing when you have a truck. If you need some sort of accessories for your pickup truck, they have what you need. I'm bumper to bumper, grill guard to bumper, bumper to grill guard, and everything else in between, whether it's steps that you help get yourself up in the truck, they can do all that, or it's the bed covers, and I've listed those before. They've got every imaginable bed cover, including retractable, one-piece lids, hard and soft, roll-up, removable, paint to match, and hard folding. Professionally installed, ordered through Pickup Outfitters, and that includes with Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. You can always learn more. You see the displays in their showroom. It's open at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, and their website is createacommotion.com/covers. But also more than that. When it comes to bed covers, there's privacy, there's shelter from the rain, the elements, even the heat, the dust, and much more. The wind, security, keeping things secured from people who may go, oh, what's in your pick? And they can't see it. Extra storage space as well. WeatherTech and Husky Exact Fit floor liners. Buy the front ones, get the second row for 30% off. This is what they have with free delivery anywhere in McLennan County. Most items delivered to you the very next business day. Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
At Allen Samuels, get big summertime values on new Jeeps, the vehicles of summer. Now get 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days on select Jeep models. Plus, the all-new Jeep Gladiator now features employee pricing for all. Shop safely in person or shop and buy online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Now, more than ever, your friend in the car business. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. In high school athletics, back on campuses yesterday. Well, we've had Ray Biles from Lorena. We've heard from Don Hyde, La Vega, and Conley head coach Shane Anderson. We're now joined by Brian Bell, head coach at China Spring. Brian, thanks for your time. What was it like just to see your men, your young men again in the program?
No, it was a blessing. I know as coaches we were pretty fired up going into the workout yesterday and all the planning all the time we took to plan it all out, and just to see the kids' faces, want to high five them and hug and all that stuff, but we can't. But it was such a joy to see them yesterday morning. It was a blast.
How in shape were they?
We had some that were in really good shape, but we had some other ones that were puking a little bit, trying to hold their own. But that's the way it is. We're not, and our strategy in the workouts wasn't to try to kill them either. So they must have not. Some of them must have not really been doing too much, but they got a good workout of it, and we're in this thing for the long haul. So hopefully they'll be in shape by when July rolls around.
Coach, it's good to talk to you again. Coming from a football family, I mean, football is what you guys do, and to not have that, to not have spring ball, to not have the players around, to not have that normalcy, how strange is that for you these last few months?
Yeah, it has been a lot different. Now, granted, I've got to spend some time with my family just without the football aspect of it, which has been really nice. And being able to get to see my brother a lot more and his family was awesome. And but at the same time, football is a big part of our lives, and it has been very, very different. So just trying to I mowed the lawn a lot more than I had in the past, so that's for sure. But it's definitely different.
Brian Bell, China Spring. You last year, you played a very difficult non-district schedule. Your record was 4-8, but you went a couple of rounds deep. You did that, I believe, the year before as well. You're not building your overall record, but you're making the playoffs. You want to get better as the year's going on. But your thoughts about what you've learned as well and what your team learned last year?
Yeah, so we played a lot of young kids over the past couple of years, and by no means is that an excuse or anything. Our schedule has been tough, but we just caught a bad streak about 4 or 5 games this past season. I think we lost by a total of 12 points, so we were right there in it. And I'm so proud of our kids, and it just preaches to how resilient kids are nowadays. Just they never wavered, I guess you could say. And even 2 years ago, we're going to the last game of the season, and if we win, we get third. By a certain amount of points, we get third. And if we lose, then we don't go to the playoffs. And our kids just battled, and they've done that the past 2 years. And they've grinded it out all the way into the playoffs, and it showed in the first round of playoff games the past 2 seasons of them not giving up. And I can't be more proud of our guys for that the past 2 seasons.
What do you think about the district? You guys didn't change too much, but the district you guys wound up in, and as you look ahead of that?
No, yeah, our district is dropping down to Division II this next season is going to be. It doesn't matter if Division I or Division II really in Central Texas. There's a lot of good football, and we're in there with Conley now. This coming season, we got Gerald, Salado, Gatesville, and Robinson. So it's going to be a lot of hometown type of stuff. So travel will definitely be a lot better. But it's going to be a little bit of a change from last year.
All right, you have some people coming back. I want to ask you about 2 or 3 players. Emmanuel Abdallah, who set the world on fire with the massive game, one of the top rushing yard games ever. And was that Alvarado? Was that the game with Alvarado? What was the game where he ran for 400 or so yards? What game was that?
Yes, sir. It was actually Argyle.
Argyle, that's right.
Argyle.
Yeah, he put up unbelievable numbers. He's obviously very talented. What kind of looks is he getting right now?
So he's got a Division III offer this past week. Actually, he was fired up. Called me and he was excited about it. East Texas Baptist. So he's officially going to go play college football. And he was almost tearing up kind of whenever he was talking about it. But no, he's excited. I think he's going to be a Division I AA, Division II running back. I think he's got the potential and the speed to be a Division I guy, but he's got some work he's got to take care of. But those looks, all he's got the only offer right now is East Texas Baptist. But Air Force has asked about him. Rice has asked about him. His grades, he's a 4.0 kind of kid.
Oh, okay.
Incredibly smart. So he's definitely going to end up somewhere, and somebody's going to be lucky to have him. And it was 500 yards, not 400, David. So get that right.
Okay, I'm sorry. Nearly 900 yards.
Exactly right.
Hey, if I ran for 500 yards, I want you to get it right too.
Yeah,
shoot.
You have some players on the roster who experienced that basketball run that you made, and I was able to be lucky enough to do a couple of the broadcasts until you ran into, obviously, the great team out of Yates. Your thoughts about how much does that help that they experienced? And I saw a couple of guys that maybe weren't as mature yet, maybe mature during that time as well.
Without question. I think regardless of what sport it is, baseball, track, and definitely our run deep in the playoffs in basketball, just them playing and getting that competitive kind of advantage. I mean, they're competing all year round, and for them to make a run like that in basketball was awesome to watch, and to see them competing. And some of those guys that were football players, how much they grew in the time they got into basketball season to that 4th or 5th round kind of slot that they had made it in, how much they had grown their kind of athletic and basketball abilities. Man, it was a blast to see. It definitely gave them an advantage.
554 yards, Paul. How many inches?
Yeah,
is
there
that?
you go. There you go. That's it.
54 yards against.
I went up to him after the game and I said, "Hey, buddy, Emmanuel, you know how many rushing yards you had?" He said, 200, maybe 250, Coach. I said, "Man,
you're the sixth all time in Texas high school football history. He was like, "Whoa, thanks, coach."
Yeah.
He was all fired up.
Would you like me to do an impression of the other coach during the timeouts? Hey, we got to stop that guy. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Which makes you
Number 8.
with the kid from McKinney had 599, which broke a record that had been set 22 years ago by Darrell Ellis at Somerville, and it makes you realize. And here's what. And if you don't mind me following up with this, if you look at all the all-time single-game rushing records, most of them are now recent. Now, Kenneth Hall had that record for like 40 years of 520, but most of them are recent. And even though people look at this wide-open football as what the passing game is all about, it has opened up the running game as much as it has the passing game.
No doubt. Yeah, no, he broke probably about 4 or 5 80 to 90-yard runs, and that was kind of like we kind of spread them out. We're kind of 2-by-2 set formations, and he just split them right up the middle. So the spread offense definitely helped us in that regard.
Coach, as a coach, as far as the racial aspect goes, how do you address all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to some of our guys one-on-one and kind of pulled them aside and talked to them before kind of we got these summer workouts started. And then we're obviously going to have conversations whenever we can get and sit them down in a room all together. You know, my voice is almost going out just trying to yell across the football field because we're having to be 5 yards apart and all this stuff, and I'm screaming at them half the time. But when we get a chance to kind of sit down in a locker room and have some real-life conversations, we're really going to enjoy that, and it's really definitely going to be needed because, yes, sir, it's kind of some crazy times right now with COVID and all these things going on. So I think, but I don't think that's all what it means, or I don't think it's all going to be for the worse either. You know, I think COVID's taught us some things about life, and I think this Black Lives Matter thing has kind of taught us a lot about life, and I think a lot of good is going to come from it, without a doubt.
China Spring, Gatesville, Gerald, Robinson, Salado, and Conley in District 9, 4A, Division 2. After China Spring had been Division 1, or for the longest time, obviously, with that. Brian, thank you, as always. We appreciate your time. Good luck with the young men as you go through the workouts. It seemed like yesterday to me when I walked over to a couple of practices, it seemed like to me it was like the first days in August.
Yeah, it kind of did feel like that a little bit. It was a blast, that's for sure. And I appreciate what you guys do for Central Texas sports, and I try to tell you that on air every time I get on here. But what you guys do is unbelievable for kids, and we really do appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. That's Brian Bell, head football coach at China Spring. Last year 4-8. This year they moved down from 4A Division 1, part of that district with La Vega, Stephenville, whatever. Yeah, Gatesville moves down as well.
They got a way different district than what they were used to, and they had the little, was it 4 or 5 teams? It was 5 teams in that district?
Yeah, there was 5.
Yeah,
and 4 of them made it 1 year, 2 years ago.
So that was one
thing
thing
about. They had to go to
about
Brownwood and win like by an like by some kind of a geometric figure.
Yeah,
you
get. I hate those. I would, if you're a fan of a team, you're like, okay, we got to win by 17.5 points tonight.
Yeah, well, I talked to Brian every. I don't even remember. I think it was Tuesdays, but I don't remember now. But for the coaches shows we used to do, and man, their non-district seemed like it lasted forever because it was like 6 weeks in, and they're still in like non-district play,
and everyone else is.
Yeah,
so you're looking around and you're like, oh, man, and the teams you're going to play in the playoffs, they were in their district already.
And it was the beautiful thing about even when you maybe had some games that you dropped, because it was non-district, it allowed your team to improve.